Okay, so I get it. I probably shouldn't be in a position where I'm talking smack about the Edmonton Oilers again, especially considering their defeat of the Vancouver Canucks the other night, where Spencer Martin was pretty good, Mikko Koskinen was pretty meh, yet the Canucks ended up losing in OT to a Connor McDavid cross-crease goal. I probably shouldn't be talking smack about the Oilers because of that, but we're going to be going out there and discussing this idea anyway. It comes to us in the form of the 32 Thoughts article from a few days ago. Take a look at this. This is the same piece we've been highlighting in the previous few videos. Elliotte Friedman, A Lesson to Learn. As we said in the previous videos, this article opens up with a few very meaningful paragraphs regarding the incidents with Derek Jocelyn, Boko Imama, and Jordan Subban. But going over onto the thought we wanted to focus on here in this article, it's about the Edmonton Oilers and their goaltending. Now, Smith and Koskinen have not been great the past few months over here, despite the fact that Koskinen has gone out there and defeated my Vancouver Canucks. That was mostly due to the Canucks' play, not really due to Koskinen's play. He still let up some pretty bad goals. But still, when it comes to the Oilers and their goaltending, there is indeed a desire to improve, which is why they've been linked to pretty much every goaltender under the sun, whose name potentially could be seen as a trade market piece. One of these names is on the Philadelphia Flyers. It's Martin Jones. He's a guy who honestly hasn't really been playing all too great in terms of the numbers the past few years, ever since making his debut with the Kings and getting sent over to Boston in a trade and then getting sent back over to San Jose immediately afterwards in another trade. It was a pretty weird, strange path for Martin Jones. He used to be a pretty great NHL starter, getting a .918 save percentage in 65 games played, but as the years went on in 2018-19, Jones just hasn't really been the same. Starting out in 2018-19, he had, guess what, an .896 save percentage in 62 games. In 2019-20, he had an .896 save percentage in 41 games. In 2020-2021, he had an .896 save percentage in 34 games, all while his goals against average numbers increased. So this guy has been literally on a pretty steep decline since his days in San Jose, but this season his save percentage has taken somewhat of a boost. He's at a .901 this year, although his goals against average have increased as well, which if you're taking a look at a goaltender is a negative thing. You went from a .328 goals against last season in 34 games to 3.56 goals against this season in 17. Now, the Flyers are not a good team. This team has lost 13 in a row. They're last in the Metro, so I guess there is a little bit of a caveat that you could say exists here for Martin Jones and the profile he has with Philadelphia, but still, this is a goaltender that if you're going to go out there and take a look at the options you have for goaltender rentals at the trade deadline, because he does expire this season, he's making $2 million a year, this is probably not one of the better ones, which is why we go over onto 32 Thoughts and we see what Friedman has to say. If Philadelphia had been willing to take a late-round pick for Martin Jones, it's possible he would already be an Edmonton Oiler. But the Flyers wanted something better and felt the market will strengthen as we get closer to the deadline. Name a goalie. Georgiev, Holtby, Husso, Khudobin, Korpisalo, Vanacek, Varlamov. They looked at it. There undoubtedly are others. Rentals, non-rentals, you name it. GM Ken Holland held. He doesn't want to trade his first-rounder, and multiple teams indicated that the higher it looked the second-rounder could be, he wasn't thrilled about moving it either. That pick, or the Oilers' third, will go to Chicago, pending their playoff performance. Their fourth-rounder already belongs to New Jersey, Dallas prefers moving Khudobin over Holtby, and several people made a good point about Semyon Varlamov. If he goes, there's no Russian on the roster with Ilya Sorokin. That's not a small thing. And so, we take a look at what apparently happened here with the Oilers and Martin Jones. The Philadelphia Flyers were not willing to part with a late-round pick for this goaltender. They wanted something better, and whether or not that better is a first or a second, it's just not good enough for what the Oilers wanted to give up. And to me, I look at this and I say, darn, Philly, you're really reaching high here, aren't you? You think you could get a first or a second for Martin Jones, of all people? Like, I get it, this guy was good before, but like, his numbers have been so bad, and he hasn't really shown off that he is that guy in any season in the past half-decade, aside from 2018. So like, I don't really know where the evaluation is, where Philadelphia sees that Martin Jones is worth something like a first or a second. They might think, okay, it's just the market right now. Like, if we hold on to Jones, we'll wait till his value appreciates and we'll try to sell when he is at his peak, because we know this guy is a guy that's probably not going to stick around. He expires this offseason. That's a very dangerous tightrope you're trying to walk on there, Philadelphia Flyers, because in my opinion, just based off of how you have Martin Jones and his numbers and everything, if you have any form of return for this guy on the table, you take it. To me, that's anything. That's like a fourth or a fifth or a sixth. If you can get any sort of value for this guy, you get it. You deal with the repercussions and trying to find another replacement goaltender later, but Martin Jones, to me, is not really worth all too much on that market right now. Nor is he going to be worth too much later in the future when he doesn't decide to re-sign with your team and he goes elsewhere. Get your value while you can get your value. I can understand holding out in a negotiation, trying to get more out of the opposite team, try to say, okay, Edmonton, if you guys get this Martin Jones and you guys start winning again, you guys start performing, and you guys start getting those points up on the standings, your picks are not going to be as valuable as they are right now. Try to cough up a little bit more, and we'll say yes to that. I can understand that negotiation tactic, but trying to hold on to Martin Jones in hopes of being able to eventually get maybe a first and a second for this guy, yeah, I'm sorry, that's kind of too much. There are also way too many other goaltenders in the market that opposite teams that are trying to acquire a goaltender, they have the right to say no and choose. They have the right to be very picky with where they send their draft picks. They have the right to hold out on any potential trade with you, Philadelphia, because they've got Braden Holtby and Anton Khudobin just a call away. They have themselves options here, which makes things more difficult for you as the seller because there's a bigger competition, and it means you're going to have to lower your price. So, I would not be surprised if Martin Jones eventually does get traded sometime towards the trade deadline, but he gets traded like at the very end. He is not traded until, let's say, the last half hour or the last 15 minutes, and he goes for something that's really small, only like a fifth or a sixth round pick, because I don't really see Martin Jones getting any better, do you? Do you see this guy with an .896 save percentage flat across the past 3 seasons, improving significantly on the Flyers of all teams that have lost 13 in a row and who haven't really shown any signs of life? They lost to the Islanders the other day. Come on. Do you see Martin Jones going out there and improving? Because I don't. And I don't really think the market is going to settle down in a way where players like Martin Jones, who are kind of hovering in this bubble of mediocrity, are going to go out there and fetch you more than they would today a few months from now. So, talk to me in the comments, what do you think? If the Oilers made the right call on saying, okay, no, screw that, we're not giving up a first for Martin Jones, of all people. Philadelphia, you can go out there and eat that. Are you serious? Flyers fans, let me know in the comments also if I've been a little bit too harsh on your goaltender. Do you think that based off the way he has been playing this season, he is worth more than what I'm evaluating him at? Do you think that based off of how this guy has progressed, he has had an improved save percentage number this year compared to before, but is he really worth more than a late round pick-ish? Is he at the very least worth a third? If not, do you agree with the idea that maybe the Flyers are holding out for a first or a second because they think the goalie market will stabilize to a point where goaltenders go for that much? Because my argument is financials. If there are way too many goaltenders on the market, it devalues the price of your goaltender because there are just way too many other options, all of whom likely have better save percentages than .901. So, let me know in the comments all your thoughts about this. The link in the description will be, as always, to the 32 Thoughts article over here. Go ahead and read that. There are some other thoughts involved as well. But yeah, Martin Jones, talk to me in the comments. Oilers fans, one more thing here. I kind of feel like this needs to be said because we hadn't really been saying it in the entire video so far. But you guys have goaltending issues with Koskinen and Smith. That's pretty much a given here. In my opinion, I don't think getting a Martin Jones would placate your worries, so talk to me in the comments about that. Am I kind of accurate in that assessment that Martin Jones, of all people, would not be the guy to come into your dreams and be the superhero to save the day? Let me know in the comments all your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.